Hey guys, I'm up here in the Lincoln National Forest near Ruidoso, New Mexico, and today was their first substantial snowfall of the year. I think they had one other snowfall maybe a week or so ago, middle of November, and it was just a dusting. But they've had approximately four to 5 inches of snow, and so we were going to come up here anyway for the weekend. And when we found out it was snow, we brought Ivan with us. We have a Siberian Husky. His name is Ivan, and we brought him with us. And freaking, we felt like, coming and finding the snow for the boys to play in and for Ivan to play in. And Sarah loves the snow. Obviously, we don't get any in El Paso, so we're here. It also gives me a chance to use my fucking Arktis Tundra set that I've had since we lived in Maine, and I only used it like once or twice there, and so I get to freaking come out here and look at that. Oh, I fucking love it. I love it. Anyway, so the video today is it's going to be a gear consideration. Being out here, being from New England, being from the Northeast, understanding being in the cold. I don't want to say cold weather operations; it's too cliche. Cold weather environment, cold weather survival. The thing I want to talk about, the gear consideration, is what gear you bring and how much of it runs off of batteries. Because one thing I think a lot of guys who are in temperate environments don't necessarily, cool thing about this Arktis fleece, it has these side zips so you can access underneath. One thing I think a lot of guys who live in temperate environments don't think about, not necessarily understand, but yeah, especially down south where you don't get a lot of, it doesn't have to be sub-zero, it just has to be freezing, below freezing temperatures consistently with snowfall. When it comes to your gear, is the more gear you have that's battery powered, whether it be an optic, flashlights, nods, rangefinders, comms, all of that, if you don't have a plan to recharge them in the field, whether it be with solar or a little hand crank thing or battery packs. But battery packs, issue with all of that is when you bring electronics into a cold weather environment, if you do not have a way to keep them warm next to the body in your pack, where like a hydration bladder would be, if you do not have a way to do that, your batteries will, even in a tent where outside it's 25 degrees, in the tent it's 35 degrees, and you're in your sleeping bag and you're warm. But if you leave your kit or your batteries, your electronics in your kit, in a pack, on your rig with the fucking ATAX bullshit, that, or even compasses, that's a secondary thing. But what people need to think about and understand is, how am I going to keep my stuff warm? Water freezing isn't a big deal. Batteries, because once it's not like, oh, the batteries lost their juice because it got cool at night and I woke up and I put it in my jacket and all of a sudden the battery's juice randomly came back. That's not how it fucking works. Once the batteries are zapped, the batteries are zapped. Bring your phone out, ATAX your phone. You need to think of ways to carry your electronics. For me, the way I carry my electronics, my headlamp that's normally in here, there's a little chest pouch. It's uncomfortable because I have a chest rig on, but I have that up against my chest pouch. Now I have my day pack with me. I'm not wearing it. I left it over there with my poncho. There's a little stream, and I left it over there. And I left my fucking tripod in there, and it's down closer. The road's over there, and then it's kind of like just gradual uphill into some forested area. But anyway, my NVGs, I brought my NVGs with me. They require those Surefire 123 batteries. Now, the only thing that you can't really mitigate, you can sleep with your rifle, big whoop, is optics and flashlights. Now, flashlights is one thing, because if you like 123 batteries in this, 123 batteries in my NVGs, so if I had to use them. But the other thing too is to take the batteries out of them when you go to sleep. Same thing with your optic. If your optic has if you're rocking an EOTech that takes either AA's or 123s, have a way to take the batteries out of them. put them in your sleeping bag with you. Take them, put them in a fucking, all your batteries or your electronics, whether your phone, your battery packs to recharge, your spare batteries, all of them in like a spare sock or a fucking, yay, custom made little pouch that you get made just for that. And you put it in the sleeping bag with you with your one canteen, because that's what I normally do. I put one canteen or one water bottle in the sleeping bag with me, and then to keep that warm, so in case other things freeze or whatnot, it's whatever. And then keep your batteries warm, because your batteries get zapped if you have no way of recharging them, whether it be solar. But if you're going to be in a alpine cold weather environment where it is going to be snowy and overcast a lot, especially in the mountains, there might not be solar. So you have to think about that. So that's the gear consideration, is what's your kit and how many batteries, how many battery powered things does your kit have? And do you have a way to keep them charged, or keep the juice in them? Because if you haven't thought about that, you're going to leave your shit in your pack. You're going to sleep with your nods on? Sleeping with your nods on isn't going to keep them from getting cold. You'd have to sleep with them motherfuckers in your sleeping bag. And the batteries that fucking run it. Your little battery pack, we're gonna take your helmet off with your nods and put it next to your sleeping bag. And then what, get up in the morning, you think it's gonna be okay? Fuck no. That shit drains like that. I don't know how many times I've been winter camping. Shit drains. I don't know how many times I've been like snowshoeing and I've left my phone in my backpack that I'm carrying. And it's like 100% when I start it. By the time I'm done, cold in the 20s. By the time I'm done, it's in the 30s. Shit fucking sucks the battery. Cold weather sucks the battery life out of all batteries. Like thankfully, I have spare batteries with me. So like in my day pack, I just have my nods, my med kit, because we got running water and snow. I only got 2 canteens, and I have like an emergency shelter type setup, like a little cover and the emergency bivvy. Because that's all you need. You clear the snow out, you get a shit ton of boughs, put the emergency bivvy down, you put that down, make a small fire, maybe make a little reflective wall. You can even just mound up the snow, because it'll melt the snow, but it'll eventually create a little layer of ice, and it'll insulate itself, and it'll help reflect it. Anyway, how do you store your batteries in a cold weather environment? How do you store your batteries, and how are you going to keep them charged? Because once the batteries die on your optic, what are you going to do? That's why I have backup. That's why I have iron sights. That's the main reason I have iron sights. You run out of batteries on your flashlight. What are you going to do? You're rocking nods. You run out of batteries. Oh no, you're no longer a god with a superpower. What are you going to do? You're going to carry. What are you going to carry? Boxes of 1, 2, 3 batteries? Cool. How are you going to keep them? You're going to put 2 boxes of 1, 2, 3 batteries in the sleeping bag with you every time you lay down? If that's your plan, go ahead. But even then, when stuff is in your sleeping bag, if you don't keep it near you and you put it like at the foot of your sleeping bag where it gets cold, you run the risk of it still being exposed to cold weather, and it fucking, so little reality check, I think, for people who think that things that run off electronics are the greatest. They're great, but in a cold weather setting, you need to remember that frickin' you have to keep them from dying without using them. You might not use your flashlight at all, but then all of a sudden at night you didn't think about it, and whoo, right? So yeah, there you go. All right, well, gear consideration: how do you keep your batteries from dying in a cold weather environment? There you go. All right, thank you guys for watching. Think about it. If you're not in a cold weather environment, disregard this. Just kind of put it in the back there in case one day you are. But think about it. If there is snow in your region, a substantial amount of snow in your region for a substantial amount of the year, months, even just a couple months, how do you plan for that? All right, you guys have a good one. I'm gonna go have some fun. All right, we'll see you later.